Okay, I'm Santiago Suarez Ordóñez. I work in SOS Labs. We do Selenium on the cloud support, and we're the Selenium company.
My name is Aurora Velez. I actually come from Mexico. I work for an outsourcing company called Nearsoft, and we're currently trying to implement a whole continuous integration testing framework with Selenium.
My name's Jonathan Azoff. I work for a company called PixelPipe, and we're a social media tunneler. We take a bunch of social networks and tunnel them through one endpoint so that you can send all your information out to all your favorite social networks with one website.
My name is Eileen Xie, and I'm a QA engineer at Axolotl.
I'm Jonathan Alkema, and I work in QA automation lead at Lyris.
I'm Rob Fan, and I'm from ShareThrough. We're a viral video distribution network.
I'm Colin Jackson, and I'm a software engineer.
My name is Micah Breitenstein.
My name is Derek Camarino, and I work for Lyris. I'm a software engineer there.
My name is Sarah May. I'm a Ruby developer, and I'm between jobs right now, which makes me a consultant, I think, for the moment. I did a lot of Selenium at my last job. I worked at a company called LookSmart, and we had a big online advertising platform in Rails that we tested with Selenium.
So Selenium is a framework for testing websites using real browsers. There are a lot of different ways to test your website, but most of them involve looking at the code that's running on the server. But what Selenium does is it actually makes a robot browser go to the website and try to interact with it just the way that a user would. So that you get a much better picture of whether or not the site is going to work in a real browser. So the most successful Selenium test that I ever wrote was the first test that we wrote. When we first got started with Selenium, we wrote a test that would check whether or not users could log into the site. Because if they can't log into the site, probably nothing else is going to work either. And we thought this would be a silly test and it wouldn't really do anything. But in fact, we found that we broke it almost every week. And this saved our users a lot of pain because we knew that we were going to break the site and we could avoid deploying the site until we had fixed this issue. So it turns out you can get most of the value out of Selenium just by implementing the first test. And then the rest of the tests are just gravy. You get more and more coverage.
So we started testing pretty early in the company, and we started kind of learning as we were going and testing. So when we first started testing, it was pretty simple, but then we started adding more and more complicated web tests, which we then needed to add cross-browser testing on top of that. And sooner or later, we then came across the problem of needing to set up a Selenium grid. And going down that brief research, we found that it would take just a lot of effort for us to do. So we ended up deciding to go out and see what else was out there. So we decided to start using SOS. And immediately, it just took off the entire burden and the pain of us having to set up the grid, maintain it, monitor it, upgrade like browsers, images, and so on and so forth. So now we just let it run. It runs our tests. We can work on our code, and SOS takes care of all the testing needs, and it's all gravy.
We had the real problem of having many different platforms, lots of them using JavaScript, and it turned out that trying to centralize our tests through any one language meant another one was left out, and we're writing way too many tests for way too many languages. And the problem with conventional testing is the test is written to test your code, but it's not written to test your applications. And it's kind of like a figurative way of talking about it, but really what Selenium is so great at is that it approaches testing from the viewpoint of your users, from the actual endpoint, from the interface end. So it's a good way to really test your application in ways that conventional testing can't.
One particular Selenium success story was I automated going through a workflow with loading different layouts and sending them out. Basically, there was a couple hundred layouts that had to be gone through, checked, and verified and sent. And I scripted it with Selenium so that I could send it all in one pass and go and verify it later. So, yeah, it really reduced manual testing time.
I moved on from being a manual tester to an automated test developer, so I got a lot of free time while I watched Selenium work, which is nice.
So we're starting to use Selenium and everything is brand new, so we get to basically do whatever we want and like define the processes. So one thing that we're trying to do right now in our product is add support for other browsers. So when I write a test script that works in IE, I can just change one word and run the exact same test script in Firefox or Safari, and that makes it very easy for us to find bugs in other browsers.
My favorite thing about Selenium is that it runs entirely on top of JavaScript, and I'm a big JavaScript developer, so anytime anyone uses JavaScript, it makes me happy. So.
My favorite thing about Selenium is that it makes it really easy to test web applications. Before I started using Selenium, I didn't even really know that it was possible to test applications in this way, and it's just made my life a lot easier.
That it's easy, that you can use with different languages, with different programming languages, and that is relatively fast compared to the tool that I used to use. Yeah. And we're actually trying to broaden up the number of people using Selenium back in Mexico, so it's going to be good, hopefully.
My favorite thing about Selenium is that it is testing an application in the browser, and also that it is an open source product. And as an open source product, I feel confident that as our technologies move forward, if we need to make changes to our testing architecture, we'll be able to do so. And in fact, others may do so with us or for us out in the open source world.
My favorite thing is that it's open source, so you can learn from it, you can improve it.
My favorite thing about Selenium is that I have almost every browser on my computer, but it takes me forever to actually load up all of those browsers and go to my website. And so Selenium makes it really easy for me to make sure that the site actually works. And there are tools that allow you to even record videos of what the site looks like, so you don't even have to worry that the site looks wrong in other browsers. So it saves me a lot of time, and when I'm writing code, I can write it really fast because I don't have to worry about checking to make sure it always works.
Yeah, Selenium just basically takes the heavy lifting off of a particular tester or individual so that they don't have to do all of the testing every single time. They can just basically call upon a script and have that particular test run and check for a status. So I really like the fact that it allows me to test the entire stack, the whole integration layer of whatever applications are being used, such as PHP, Ruby, whatever databases may be used. But when you use a browser to test, you're basically exercising the whole entire stack. So.
What I like about it actually is the community around Selenium. I think that there are a lot of test frameworks that have come and gone and kind of been, no one ever picked it up again, no one ever committed to it, And one of the things that I really like about Selenium are all of the people that are using it. Most of the meetups I go to and stuff are Ruby meetups, so I meet a lot of people who are Ruby developers. And so it's really interesting to come to the Selenium meetups and meet all these people who aren't Ruby developers, and in some cases aren't developers at all, who are working on Selenium. So that's what I like about it.
Well, I've been using it maybe for about 2-3 days, and what I like about it is it's very easy to use. Currently I'm using it through Ruby, and I was pleased that they had a gem for it, a Ruby gem. So it's pretty easy, it's like telling a robot, hey, click this thing, submit it, and make sure that this value is 3 or whatever. It's really easy to use, and I like how it integrates into test frameworks.
If you're new to Selenium, just start small. Don't go too crazy with it. Just do really simple things with it, and gradually you get more and more used to it. And eventually you'll get to a point where you'll be doing really cool stuff with it.
So whatever language you are familiar with, just write basic tests and then factor out the common components and use those in the future. Just keep it real simple in the beginning until you have to get complex.
If you're a new user, really you just got to jump into it, find a language you're comfortable in. I think most common languages are supported as far as writing your tests. I found that I gained a much deeper understanding of the Selenium framework through using their RC tools. However, you could use the IDE that runs in the browser. That one works really well too. But in any case, jumping right in is a really good way to just start your testing, and definitely testing is important, so don't let it go by.
I guess my main advice to new Selenium users is just don't be afraid to write that first test. You don't have to have a suite of hundreds and hundreds of tests in order to get a lot of value out of Selenium. Really just knowing that users can go to the site and do a few basic things can give you a lot of confidence that you're not breaking things, and make development a much faster process. Ultimately, tests are about quality, but they're also about making developers more productive because they can be a lot less paranoid about breaking things when they make changes.
Well, Selenium is slow, so think about concurrence, parallelization, make your tests independent from each other.
Having all the information together in order to get something working, documenting yourself when it comes to how to use XPath checkers, and also to use page objects as a framework in order to organize a test. That's a very good. You should look into page objects.
Definitely use page objects because they will make your test a lot easier to maintain and a lot easier to read.
Go to the meetups, I think. I think that's the best way to figure out what's going on.